Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of wonderful questions from our viewers.
All right.
The first one is, you said that the open contact window is 2025 to 2033, and the public contact is 2037. Have these times changed?
Yes, as we have said, it broadened to starting this year, 2023. Still going to about 2033, with other levels, other markers occurring between 2033 and 2040. However, we have also recently said that there is a 90% potential for a major contact event to occur at the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027, though we are not allowed to discuss exactly what conditions will bring this about.
Okay, thank you. You previously spoke about hybrids living in vacant housing situations for a short time. Do these hybrids interact with human beings during their visits or observe us? I would like to create a safe and welcoming place for them to interact with me at their discretion.
Yes, they still do use vacated places temporarily. On rare occasions, they may chance an interaction with a local human. You may do whatever you wish. We cannot guarantee they will use the space that you provide.
My 10-year-old daughter is wondering if hybrid children are excited to come be with the animals of Earth. If so, which animals are they most excited by?
They are excited to interact with the animals of the earth as well as other forms of life, humans, trees, so on and so forth. They are most attracted in general, although they are excited about all forms of life, most attracted to cats, rabbits, and foxes.
You've mentioned that the hybrid children are learning about us and how to acclimatize to our society. Can you share something about them with us that would help us understand and acclimate to them better?
They are not so proficient with the idea of social norms or pleasantries in terms of the idea of etiquettes. So the idea, even for some of them, of learning to sit and eat on a plate with a fork and a spoon are alien concepts to them that many of them are learning. The idea of exchanging what you call small talk is still relatively foreign to them. They see the idea of small talk as something that procrastinates getting in the way of direct communication, which of course they're mostly used to doing telepathically. So they may seem quite withdrawn, quite silent for a while, until they get used to the understanding of why small talk matters to humans as a way of establishing familiarity and sort of testing the waters as to what another person is all about and in what direction the conversation might be interested in going. So they will have to get used to those kinds of social norms on your planet, even though at the same time, humans can also get used to the idea of using their own telepathy more often.
Can you describe what happened when your society transformed into a fully telepathic society? What is it like when one suddenly shifts from not so telepathic to completely telepathic?
It is like awakening into a dream where there are multiple realities speaking to you at the same time, and it involved a process of stabilization that allowed us to differentiate what was and what was not relevant for us at any given moment in terms of information pouring in from many different sources. So we had what you might refer to as a filtering time after the awakening after 3 days of Shakana awoken us to the idea of telepathic connectiveness, and we had to go through what might be, for some individuals, a few days, weeks, or months of filtering until such time as we allowed what was relevant to come to us and filtered out what was not. So it took some adjustment, but it didn't take too long.
And can you tell us, why do humans need regular soap and water baths to maintain hygiene and health, while so many animals on the planet don't need such practices? And how did the Greys clean themselves?
All animals will usually take advantage of water sources to clean themselves. And you have animals such as cats that clean themselves regularly. Different animals have different ways of doing so, and different needs of doing so, different levels of need. Just look more closely, more deeply at the animal world, and you will see that many of them have different ways of preening, cleaning, bathing, so on and so forth. The Greys, once they mutated from human to Grey, had very simple systems that relied mostly on the ingestion of liquids that were purged through the pores of the skin in terms of perspiration, and simply wiped themselves down with what would essentially be damp cloths. Sometimes, later on, they would perhaps pass through a cleansing mist.
Is one of the signs that we are biologically connected with ETs the idea that we don't seem so well adapted to our planet in terms of clothing, needing to bathe ourselves, and those ideas?
No, not really. Remember that the Earth game has its rules and regulations about what is necessary for playing that game, having that experience. You all have extraterrestrial connections, and from time to time, those connections can rise to the surface and make it appear as if you are a stranger in a strange land, not exactly relating to the idea of the Earth reality. But the things you are describing do not so much have to do with your connections to extraterrestrials. They have more to do with the idea of what it means to play the Earth game.
And in previous transmission, you mentioned the idea of trinary beats when referring to Essassani music. Could you tell us more about these trinary beats?
To you, they would seem very simplistic. Ba-ba-ba, 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 which underscores most of our music. But to us, we are hearing all sorts of harmonics and reverberations of frequencies within those 3 beats. So to us, it sounds a little bit more like ba 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 ba, and a more complex structure can be founded on what to you might seem to be 3 simple beats.
Are you familiar with the Star Visitor Sanctuary in Hawaii, and can you speak on its significance and usages?
Not at this time.
And how are you able to talk to multiple Earths at one time?
Time for us is not what it is for you. The idea of what may be taking place from your perspective at a certain time is taking place from another perspective at a completely different time. Our consciousness can be fragmented in many different directions simultaneously because we are, as we say, mostly connected now to spirit, and spirit can see things from multiple points of view, multiple dimensional perspectives. So it's just a matter of what we have gotten used to in terms of creating an interaction, creating a connection that simply, when necessary, goes to whatever dimensional time frame is appropriate and relevant for the communication that needs to occur.
Okay, thank you. Some reports of the white tic-tac shaped craft describe a couple of small protrusions sticking out. Do those craft, in fact, have any protrusions?
Not permanently. Protrusions, sensors, can stick out when they need them to and be retracted also when required.
Can you tell us about the purpose of them?
Not at this time.
Okay. I know you say that all prayers are answered. If I pray to ETs for help with a personal challenge, can they help me if they see fit?
Do not pray to extraterrestrials. Prayer is a state of grace, a state of gratitude in the present for what you already are receiving. It's not a matter of asking for more than you're already being given. You are being given everything you can be given, all the help you can be given from extraterrestrials, from whom it is appropriate to give, from spirit beings and guides, from all that is, from sources of your own spirit family, soul family. You are being given everything you can be given. The idea of praying is about staying in a state of present grace and gratitude for what you are receiving so that you can become more aware of the help you're already receiving. You do not need to ask for more, for more cannot be given than what is already given. You are being given everything that can be given. Open yourself up in your state of prayer to receive and be aware of what you're already getting.
Okay. Is it possible that contact could be in dreams? This person keeps having dreams of various UFO sightings and even had one last night.
Most contact events will occur in dream time. Again, it is a slightly altered version of physical reality, a slightly altered dimension in which it is easier for extraterrestrial and spirit beings to interact with human beings when their normal daily waking consciousness is set aside a bit. So these things are actually happening and are actually representative of memories to the best that your physical mind can interpret them with the dream language. But most contacts at this point occur in the dream state, in the dream time, yes.
And this person is saying that they once experienced a communication from their deceased dog through a ceiling fan. Both the dog and the fan are white, and they wanted to know how a being can communicate through an inanimate object. I understand they're saying that they understand how we do that in physical reality through gift giving, for example, but how do spirits do this? Can you give us any insight on that?
Spirits will use whatever object, because remember, objects are just projections of consciousness. The idea of the spirit of the animal may have recognized that the observation by the human of the ceiling fan allowed the human to be in a perfect state of receptivity for the animal to communicate the vibration of love and connection that the animal was attempting to do. So, like any spirit using synchronicity in the things, the objects, the projections of consciousness that are already in front of your face, making it easier for them to make a connection because of your attentiveness to them, because of your ability to perceive these objects and accept them in your reality, then yes, an animal or any being in spirit can utilize an object as a way of communication.
This person's experience was that they experienced a channeling event at their grandmother's funeral, which was a life-changing experience for the person and their family.
Yes.
Before the channeling happened, they sensed a strong power or energy that came to them. Then their body started vibrating, they felt muscle cramps, and then 1 month later, they found your teachings and they experienced the same sensations again, those strong energy flow, the muscle cramps, when they listened to your information. Can you help him or her understand how to interpret this energy?
Well, in a sense, you were given a preview of the kind of energy that connects you more strongly to your higher mind, to spirit, by being open to that kind of energy at a funeral. It's not dissimilar to the kind of energy you experience by connecting to the higher mind and spirit. So you were, in a sense, allowed a preview of the kind of vibrational information that can come to you by being willing to be open to receiving that information. At first, your body may not be used to the frequency, and you may experience the idea of those bodily neurological spasms, but you'll get used to it in time. So just be open to it, and anytime you think back to the idea of being in the state you were in at the funeral, whether you feel exactly the same or not, just know you are open into that state, and go forward with your imagination and apply that energy in whatever way, shape, or form creatively you wish to by acting on your passion in life, and synchronicity will do the rest.
Thank you. Do you know if cannabis or psychedelics was or currently is being used by extraterrestrials as a communication tool? Can it be used as a way to link into the consciousness and awareness of another person? This person says they often feel it could make awareness of other beings more present, but it also felt like it was somewhere in the future, that its components could be used to enhance telepathy and communication through a feeling of energy rather than using speech.
Yes. As we have already said, with regard to the idea of the future hybrids, including Willa Hillichrising, going through the different stages of mastery, a substance, a teacher called divinorum, is often used to make interdimensional linkages. And so different extraterrestrial beings at different times and different civilizations use the teachers of their own planet that grow naturally to aid and assist them in this endeavor.
So, and on that idea, sometimes we have large gatherings that are called rock concerts or music concerts,
Yes.
where there can be large numbers of people, like 50,000 people,
Yes.
all getting into a very excited, happy state, dancing, singing, all
Yes.
of that. And for some people, that seems to open up the doorways for some form of ET contact.
Of course, this is ancient shamanism. That's all this is. Remember, drumming circles, dancing circles, vibrations, frequencies, resonance. It's all about that. It doesn't matter how you accomplish it as long as there is unity and harmony in the frequencies with the intent going in a similar direction. We are aware that just recently it has been recorded that at a certain concert from the individual you know as Taylor Swift, individuals were vibrating in harmony to such an extent that it was actually recorded as a 2.2 earthquake.
That's exciting.
There are powers in harmonies. There are powers in resonances. It doesn't matter how you achieve this.
I know there was one rock musician who was very fascinated by these ideas, and he suggested that certain arenas like the Superdome, they look like spaceships, and that
Yes.
there somehow might be a way for an entire group of people to levitate such a thing. Is that realistic, or is that real? Or
Yes, it is potentially true. It depends upon the intent and the focus of the individuals. But there is enough power to do that.
So if you had 50,000 people in that.
And in any event, in many cases, you will find that portals are being opened with those resonances.
So is it similar to a galactic gathering when these kinds of events occur, where there's so many people in such an ecstatic state?
Smaller scale, but yes, similar in principle.
So they aren't necessarily conversing as much as they are celebrating together? Would that be?
What's the difference?
Well, it seems like there's a frequency difference between just regular communication and celebration.
You can generalize the vibration into what you would perceive as a celebration, but there is always communication. Joy spreads outward. Joy ripples outward to infinity, always. And that is a message.
The channel once mentioned the idea that if you had 50,000 people in that kind of a state and they all focused on levitation, is that the idea that they could literally all levitate together? Or
It's possible, although again, you have to take into account whatever belief systems are in the collective. It might be easier for all of them to imagine that they could each levitate an object rather than themselves. So you may start slow and simple, but you will be able to see demonstrations of this if the intentional focus is harmonized in that way.
it's a very exciting possibility to utilize those kinds of circumstances. I suppose it's like that at a football game too, where people are so excited, but it's a little different because the energy is competitive, I suppose.
In the future, we perceive that gatherings at such stadiums will be primarily for the kind of purposes we are talking about right now.
That's really exciting. Is there a limit to the human population that planet Earth can sustain?
Well, of course, it depends on how you allocate your resources. The way you are allocating your resources now, you have exceeded the limit that is capable of surviving and thriving. However, were you to reallocate resources, eliminate certain political, social, religious limitations, and allow equalization to occur in certain ways, you could find that the Earth could sustain 10 to 12 billion individuals quite comfortably, but major changes would be required.